So we were looking at kind of the response of the Chasidim, and the early one of the earliest responses is these letters from Israel from Rabbi Menachem Mendel of Vitebsk, who's living in Tzfat, and these letters are from 1770. 1777 or 8. We had seen an earlier letter. So there's two letters here. One of them is Shvat. Shvat. So that would be 1778. So the first letter from Rabbi Nachman of Vitebsk is to the rabbis of Lithuania, Russia, and Wallen. And he basically responds, these are early letters, right? This is not 25 years later, which was we did look at the kind of reinvigoration of the battle against the Chasidim on the part of the people of Vilna and others in the 1790s, in which we saw that some of the criticisms had fallen away, some of the more bizarre criticisms, handstands, things like that. But what remained was basically the criticisms of why have you changed the nusach, and you spend all day davening, and that you're different. So those are the criticisms that remained. But these letters are very early on. We have that, but we also have just everything gets kind of thrown in together. And these two letters from Rabbi Nachman Mendel of Vitebsk are early. These are early responses. So the Chasidim are still seen, they're certainly seen as people who have changed things. Things are dangerous. The criticism against Chasidim sticks for quite a while, but these letters are early. This is 1778. So we have two letters. We have the first letter, who's to the rabbis of Lithuania and Russia, Rabbi Menachem Mendel of Vitebsk, 1778. And he speaks about, remember, his response is not so much a halachic argument of, why it would be good to use Nusach Sfard over Ashkenaz. Because the real reason is that it's more mystical. That's why they did it. Their reason for davening all day instead of learning is it is a different, Chassidut was a break. It's a different emphasis. What you have throughout Jewish history is there's lots of things in Judaism. Obviously, whenever you emphasize one thing over everything else, you go astray, whether that is the reform movements, more modern stress on commandments between us and other people. Once it eclipses, everything else in Judaism, so then it's not really classic Judaism. You can have this with, I think a lot of times these things are responses to Talmud study overshadowing everything else. That, the only thing to do is learn Gemara. So then you also miss, the forest for the trees. If it's, if the culture of orthodoxy becomes emphasized above everything else, that also causes problems. If, once you have a certain agenda, you have trouble. And so there's all these things in Judaism. There's a push and pull always, right? No, things get too extreme. There's too much of just an emphasis on the intellectual side of Talmud study, and obviously not everybody has access to that. So you have other movements like Chassidut and Musar, and Chassidut was drawing a lot on the mystical. When it comes to ecstatic prayer, when it comes to using a more mystical language for prayer. So it is drawing on Kabbalah. Now, it's true that, remember, in a way, Shabtai Tzvi also was based on that. Shabtai Tzvi used Kabbalah, I think, in a not legitimate way, but that doesn't make all of Kabbalah unusable. So the Chasidim, but he doesn't argue that. What he argues basically is a general argument of, you're hating us for no reason. We're not who we're not bad people. We are, serving God, and this is hatred. He's not arguing all the points. So that is kind of the letter to. It seems pretty general. To the rabbis of Russia and Lithuania. That's a pretty broad stroke. Who it got sent to exactly is a good question, and how it got sent. This letter, it must have been copied over many times. This letter is from a compendium that was published later. And then we have a letter to the rabbis of Vilna from Rabbi Nachman of Tebsk in the same year. So it sounds like he writes one. So I think one question we could ask is, how are they different? Is there something about the letter specifically written to the rabbis of Vilna that, and of course, Vilna is the epicenter of this hatred against the Chasidim. Vilna is where it all comes from. And the Gaon is the person that it's kind of all built on his shoulders. So we want to, I think, open up our ears to the question of, is this any different? If what he wrote to the rabbis of Russia and Lithuania was fairly general, and it was about the unity of the Jewish people and not hating Jews. He also writes, here that we'll also forgive. He says in this letter to the rabbis of Lithuania and Russia, everything that is past, we only care about the future. We're willing to make bygones bygones. We're willing to forgive. Okay, and then here's the letter to the rabbis of Vilna. I think we had started this. Says, "V'shamot shmi b'nei Yisrael, kihem atzilei b'nei Yisrael." You are the atzilim, the shining ones of the Jewish people. He gives the honor to Vilna that it deserves. Halo lachem rosh shivtei Yisrael. You are the heads of the Jewish people. Minayu malkei. He's quoting from the Gemara here about the greatness of rabbis. You are the greatest of rabbis, he says. And greater, who stands upon your head, Sar HaTorah, the master of the Torah, Kain HaKerach HaNorah. Now this refers to the Vilna Gaon, but remember I pointed out that Kerach it's an iceberg, right? He's the great iceberg, but Kerach is also the word Korach. Right, and it's hard to believe that that's not that's not intended, although it's fairly veiled. Oave Torah, you love Torah. Oave Yedidi Nafshi, they're people that we love in common. And he addresses it to the rabbis of Vilna. Acharei, after I have greeted you with peace. What can I do? There is this, thing between us. May God take away this, this sort of melitz means like somebody who argues for another, a prosecutor. Between us, those who are spreading lashon hara, bad talk, narganim hamafsidim, the fly in the ointment, who has sent strife among brothers. Right, so he's blaming. I mean, he did this in the last letter also, and this was kind of the early methodology, was to blame those who are speaking Lashon Hara, that the reports that you're getting are not accurate. They are causing damage, these people. And all these arguments are really, he says, because of the people that you're getting reports from. Hine el Elokim Hashem Elokim Hashem hu yadei of Yisrael hu yadei ki sheker anavanu. And God is our witness that falsehoods have been said about us. I'm standing today on holy ground in Israel. And he says, Bo an nishba, I swear, on the name of Israel, Bim sheyesh banu v'irtenu uve'emunatenu chas shalom shum shemetz dofi achashim kfira teretenu k'dosh kazv'zor, that we do not deny there's no kfira, there's no denial of Torah on our part. Filu ez siag v'get a mitzvah, even any detail that anybody is saying it, it's giving you a wrong report. And if we are keeping the Torah as we're supposed to from Moshe, as the rabbis explain the Torah, Hashem Elokim Shamana Cherpas Avdecha, then God is going to hear our cries and is going to punish you. Because think about it, he says, you are taking a tremendous risk. If you're listening to the Lashon Hara, you may be worried about what's out there. You may be erring on the side of defending, the Jewish people from what you think is a radical movement. But if we are righteous and we are not deniers of the Torah, as I'm telling you, we are righteous, then think about the sin that you're playing. You're playing with fire, right? The Lashon Hara. And accusing us, if we are not guilty of that, is a tremendous sin. And I'm telling you that we are keeping the Torah as we're supposed to. So that's an interesting argument, right? He says to them, this is not just, and this is an important idea for us too, right? This is not just a little Lashon Hara. That's the thing, right? So you have, this end of orthodoxy, that end of orthodoxy. So everybody's trying to be the defenders of the faith, but we don't think about the cost-benefit analysis, maybe, of keeping this group out or speaking Lashon Hara about that group. If they really are not kofrim, if they're really not deniers, and they're not apikorsim, they're not heathen, they're heretics, then what the sin that you're doing by accusing them is enormous. It's you're getting reports from, he says, basically little girls, that's who's reporting to the great rabbis about us. He says, the people you're getting this information from are people who are not intelligent. And they don't have the right intent. They're not people who are, this is all hearsay. And they haven't seen the Chasidim. They haven't, seen what we're doing. Tofsei Torah, it's all hearsay. Tofsei Torah, Yadani, Lamadatim, Chachma Lachacham. Hine na Adoni, Moriv Rabbi, Achai V'rai V'nemanai. He says, listen up, rabbis. Etel Kimani Arei, I fear God. It's a quote from Jonah. Yad Hashem Beinenu, Be'ed Hashem Beinenu. God is a witness between us. Shehine nema avir maldatenu v'ozvim amochalim v'chom meshichas v'iknidotanu. That we forgive anybody that has done bad to us. Call me shahara lanu ben beguf ben mammon. Whether it is in body, which they did, they had beaten them, or in money, I'm sure this took financial toll on the Chasidim. Hashem Hatov Yichaper Ba'adam V'Layasa Shemo Shem Klal. We are willing to forgive and forget. Because we know that even though you're wrong about your information about us, you did it for the sake of heaven. He says, but listen to me, you who love God, from today and onward, do not sin against us. Because your sinning against us will destroy the world in an hour. Et Elokim ani Yerem ba'otanu anu ovrim. We fear God, and we serve God. Magam ata baruch Hashem shechianu v'kimanu v'yanu l'makom hazeh shehalu ba'avatenu. I have come to the Holy Land. Asher mi yochal lesaper ziv zohar hoda. Who can praise the Holy Land enough? We're studying Torah every day in these holy synagogues. Now, maybe there was other Chasidim there. Maybe it wasn't just Rabbi Nachman Lotep. It sounds like there's Chasidim in Israel also by this time. We just want to we want our name cleared. It's a quote from the Gemara. Umagam ata ba'amin Hashem el machon shivto olamim zful tifratenu Hashemim b'churim l'yashev sinas chinim shidbe. But the sinas chinim, the hatred that you're perpetrating, is destroying things. Adoni Mori V'Rabotai says, my masters, Asher Kitnam Ava Mimtani Imchatati Neged Kvodam Kvod Malachim. If I have sinned against you, the honor of kings, Aniva Nivim Olai, those who are with me, Ashur al Ha'anashim. Here, I guess he's referring to the accusation that they were not giving enough honor to the Vilna Gaon. So if we have dissed you, if we have not given enough kavod, honor to you, to the Vilna Gaon, we ask your forgiveness. God forgives. And he says, I encourage you, Rabbis Vilna, separate yourself from the bad people who are spreading bad things about us. And what's a lot of Gemaras here? It says, I trust about the rabbis of Vilna that you are good people, and you imitate our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and you are merciful, and I know you're doing it for the sake of heaven, etc., etc. It's fine about Israel. I'll have to look at the last page of this. Okay, so that's so it's a little bit different, the letter to Vilna, than the letter to Russia. The letter to Russia is, kind of what we expect, which is, about peace and about not hating other Jews. The letter to Vilna is, you're getting the wrong report and you are playing with fire, and we respect you. Don't think we disrespect you. There seems to be a lot of don't worry, we respect you, I guess, because there was this criticism of them not giving enough respect to the Vilna Gaon. That's what I think. So we'll see the end of this letter, and then we'll skip forward a few years and see some letters of Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi. We have about 5 or 10 letters of his defending the Chasidim. All right. Welcome back, everybody.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.